Hey, Blake T. Wild here. You may also know me as Smokey's Videos. And I'm back with Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 5. The highly anticipated video is finally here, and it's being split up into two parts, because the way that this Ultimate Collection issue volume works is it combines a little, 7-issue little mini-event involving the Sinister Six with the normal issues of Ultimate Spider-Man. And they tonally clash like crazy. The first half of this book is just so different from the second half of the book. You'll see. You'll see once I make the video and you watch it. So I decided, let's just split these up. It's a little easier to digest that way. And we're getting into an interesting point in time where there are only 7 Ultimate Collection volumes of Ultimate Spider-Man released. And this is Volume 5. Thankfully, Marvel are releasing the omnibuses of Ultimate Spider-Man, but this, when I first started this journey into Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 7 came out that year. And I was like, oh, this is great. By the time I get to close to this point of Volume 7, I'm sure Marvel will have plenty of more editions that I can just keep listing it off this way. But no. They haven't published one since 2017, which means that I have been doing this for 6 years now, and that just really got to me. I really noted something in my life at that point when I realized that. But anyway, thankfully Marvel are releasing the omnibuses of Ultimate Spider-Man, so I can have it in my physical collection that way, and I can just keep on chugging on this money pony, baby. But speaking of buying great comics, I will be attending Tucson Comic Con, September 1st to the 3rd, 2023, Labor Day weekend, baby. And there you can pick up The Custodians, Issue 1, 64 pages of just pure comic goodness, fully colored and fully lettered, fully every single thing you see in this book, I made myself. All the fake advertisements in here, every single one of these things I wrote myself. Nothing here is just taken directly from like a comic book page and just posted on here. I made the whole layout of everything you see in this book was made by hand by myself. But I will be selling these also on my Etsy store, blaketwild.etsy.com. Check it out. But if you don't want to worry about shipping or waiting on the mail, if you're going to be in the Phoenix, Tucson area or just general Arizona area and you're going to Phoenix and you're going to Tucson Comic Con, then check me out, booth AA153, I believe. But I will be there. It's sort of like right next door to where all the celebrities are being held. That makes it sound like they're animals in cages, which I kind of are. But check me out there. I'll also be attending YumaCon later this year in October, so if you're in the southern sort of Arizona area, check it out. It's October 7th and 8th. I'll be selling Custodians. I'll be selling Destructo Boy, but not just any Destructo Boy. Destructo Boy issue 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's right. Destructo Boy is now a complete set. You can get all 5 issues. They are now available if I can get them all in my hands. Check that out for a comic collection. How good does that look? These are also all available on my Etsy shop. And each purchase of Destructo Boy comes with a free sketch of any character of your choosing. I'll draw Batman. I'll draw Superman. One time I drew a K-pop superstar for somebody. I'll draw anything. There's like a little box that pops up while you're checking out, and it'll say like, write something here. You write whoever you want. If you don't want anything, you don't have to. It's up to you. But oh my god. Destructo Boy issues 1 through 5 are on sale now. Etsy.com. Alongside the Custodians, Agents of Cross. And at the conventions, I will also be selling plenty of posters, which you're seeing right here. Wow. Whoa. Nice. Check it out. Thanks. Released in 2003, written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Mark Bagley, Trevor Hairsane, and Joe Quesada. This is Ultimate Spider-Man Ultimate Collection Volume 5.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can.
The story begins with a flashback. 2 months ago, Agent Sharon Carter is interviewed by S.H.I.E.L.D. on the events that took place all the way back in Volume 2. On the night that Spider-Man fought Doc Ock, Carter and the S.H.I.E.L.D. soldiers arrived post-fight and immediately began shutting down the news reporters and securing the area. Not Scully and Mulder, who's actually Jimmy Woo, lead a group of soldiers into the Hammer Lab building. They make their way into the lower level and discover 3 scientists frantically working at a computer, wondering what to do now and if it's safe to leave yet. Carter and the others hold the scientists up at gunpoint as they explain that they refused to leave when Octavius stormed the building. Then a S.H.I.E.L.D. soldier notices something in a nearby room. A man, seemingly made of sand. Carter demands to know why they have a man locked up in here, and the scientists tell her that they want their lawyer. Wu works on opening the door and discovers that the man's name is Flint Marko. It's not that surprising. He opens the door, much to the protestation of the scientists, and Carter enters, explaining that she's from S.H.I.E.L.D. and wants to help Flint out. She asks what he's doing here, if he remembers anything, or if he can even understand her. Marko just stares silently until his arms erupt in an explosion of sand and dust. Sandman then escapes out of the lab where he and Spider-Man battle it out. Spidey gets slammed into a S.H.I.E.L.D. transport containing Doc Ock, and Carter and Wu just start blasting Sandman. Then Spider-Man and a firefighter rock up and blast Sandman with a hose. He melts into some muddy sand, and Spidey tries to help Carter up when Sandman rockets out of the ground like a horrible sand ogre. He begins suffocating Spidey in his sand when suddenly he wrenches back in pain and falls unconscious. Wu and one of the scientists stand at the entrance, the scientist holding some kind of sand-based tranquilizer, and he tells them that Marko should be out in the next 10 minutes, and Agent Wu promptly places him under arrest for illegal genetic experimentation. Flashback time again. A bald man with patches of hair wakes up in a hospital bed. 2 FBI agents appear in his room and explain that 3 weeks ago he was found unconscious in the basement of Fisk Tower. The agents demand to know who this man is, since they can't find any identification, and he doesn't have any fingerprints. And Max Dillon turns to them, and electricity explodes out of the hospital room, and the agents and nearby nurses are all rendered charred husks. Electro escapes into the city in his full electrical form and wonders what the hell happened, how he got beaten by a kid, and what is he gonna do now, because he's out of the job. Then he's struck by energy that negates his powers and plummets onto the hood of a car and into the street, and the Ultimates appear. Well, 3 of them anyway, and place him under arrest. In the present, Otto Octavius, Max Dillon, Flint Marko, and Norman Osborn are having a therapy session in their S.H.I.E.L.D. prison. Otto says that now that he has had his arms successfully removed, he feels that he refused to take responsibility for any of his actions. Instead, he blamed it on others and began lashing out. Max says that he doesn't give a shit about this new age FBI box they're all locked in. How he got his powers is none of their business. Flint Marko says that he thinks these people are all a bunch of girls for whining so much. And Norman quietly says that he'll do anything they want, say whatever they want, as long as they bring him his boy. Hank Pym, who is, ironically enough, running this therapy session, is then asked by Norman why he and Otto are forced to wear the large nullifier collars that Reed Richards designed. After all, Otto had his arms removed, and Norman always needed to inject himself with the Oz formula to become the Green Goblin. Then Nick Fury walks in, having just finished playing basketball, and tells them it's because he said so. Norman demands to know where he is, and Fury explains that they're still in the same secure S.H.I.E.L.D. compound that they've been at for months. They're detained as illegal, unnatural genetic mutations. Fury tells them to just play nice, because the only person who actually gives a rat's ass about them is Hank Pym, and he only does so because he gets to run his little, project on him, or whatever he's up to. And if it were up to Fury, they'd all be lobotomized and or left to rot in a dark, cold cell. Then Fury tells him to cooperate and leaves. Sometime later, our favorite Australian nature boy, Kraven the Hunter, is interviewed about his run-in with Spider-Man, Volume 2. The host asks him how he's doing after the public defeat by Spider-Man, the arrest for public endangerment, getting deported, and his acclaimed television show being cancelled. Kraven says he's reinvigorated, and he has a brand new TV special, pay-per-view as a matter of fact, of his new hunt of the Spider-Man, and it'll be airing this week. After the show, Kraven leaves with his agent and cameraman. His agent tells him that they got the stuntman from Mission Impossible 2 and Mimic ready to suit up as Spidey, but Kraven wants the real deal. Then they're stopped by Captain America, Thor, Wasp, Black Widow, and Hawkeye.
Mr. Kravenov,
we'd like to have a word regarding evidence in our possession that you have illegally tampered with your genetic structure. You do know that that is against international law. Hawkeye.
Yeah, the guy can haul it, I'll give him that.
Right, Calf.
Bloody fucking hell, you cunt!
Later, Agent Carter escorts Kraven to a cell where he rips out of his restraints and turns into a horrific lion man monster. Then he's electrocuted and carried away and locked up with the other Sinister inmates. This is something that Kraven has done a lot to him for some reason, and a lot of adaptations, like cartoons, mostly, is what I'm thinking of. Just for some reason, Kraven is always genetically altered to be some sort of were creature. Like, it's either a werewolf-esque lion, big cat thing is usually what they go with. And I don't know why. He's already a pretty formidable foe. I guess it's just they want to make him sort of more on the level of, like, a Green Goblin or a Venom. But it's odd that it's always Kraven who ends up becoming this genetically altered, freakish monster. And is this where it started at? Sometime later, Otto stands before Hank Pym and the other S.H.I.E.L.D. doctors. He tells them that he'll cooperate however they want. Otto says that he's realized that he needs to do something of value with his life before he dies. And after spending time in this prison with the others, and the countless numbers of therapy sessions, he wants to get his life back. He wants to contribute and return to his life as a scientist. He wants to help. Pym says that they'll get back to him on this. Later, Fury reveals to the Ultimates that they're housing the villains, and Pym has also been allowed to return to S.H.I.E.L.D. as the head of his project. Fury tells them about how Doc Ock has come forward to offer his expertise to S.H.I.E.L.D. Thor asks why Fury is even bothering to consult them. And Fury says that if anything goes wrong, then they're going to be the ones who have to deal with it, and he just sort of wanted to give them a heads up. Cap asks if any of these palookas are the way they are because of Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. Fury says yes, and Cap silently leaves. Later, Otto is brought to a S.H.I.E.L.D. research facility. One of the lead scientists says that they have a surprise for him, and they reveal Otto's mechanical arms. We're all just so impressed with the design and maturity of your apparatus. We read about it, but to see it, we just want to find out what happened regarding the arms, specifically how they adhered to your nervous system as they did. I had those very same questions. I initially thought it had to do with the recognition chips in the framework, but then I began to wonder if it was more mental. If the Oz formula explosion I was exposed to had something to do with it. And I know this sounds strange, but perhaps the Oz formula did somehow open a latent mental ability. Maybe I always had some sort of psychic abilities, some kind of low-grade mutation, because I hear them, not calling to me or anything crazy, not calling to me. I know it sounds silly. It's very hard to explain. You'll just have to take my word for it. So, Kraven, out of all those Hollywood honeys you must have plowed through, who's the most famous? Well, that would probably be Jen. What the hell? What's going on? Hey, is this some kind of mindfuck?
The power grid was terminated at the source.
Only one way to find out. I'd say there are at least 50 more S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in this facility, and we have to assume I set off any number of fail-safes or alarms to S.H.I.E.L.D. bases around the world. So what's it gonna be, Norman?
You did this.
I did this.
We're even now for all past sins.
That's the way I see it as well. So, what are we doing?
You gentlemen can do whatever you want. I am going to get my boy. Then I am destroying Nick Fury. You're more than happy to help, and I guarantee you compensation for your efforts.
Where are they keeping Harry?
What are you talking about? My boy's name is Peter. Peter makes 6.
Cut to Midtown High School. Peter and the rest of his class are being chewed out by their English teacher for having used rap lyrics in an assignment for poetry. Then the class is interrupted by the principal, who calls Peter out of class. And Peter is picked up by S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Clay Quartermain on the orders of Nick Fury. He asks if Peter has his costume and then escorts the young lad directly to the Triskelion. Peter and Quartermain walk in on the Triskelion's war room as Fury gives out orders on an increasingly dire situation. Then Fury introduces Spider-Man to the Avengers, the Ultimates, and explains the situation to him. Fury also reveals that he has agents and surveillance watching Aunt May, Mary Jane, and Gwen Stacy. Fury is hopeful that this is all wrapped up by the time that Aunt May's wine class is over tonight, but if not, they have bigger fish to fry than Peter trying to tell his aunt that he's a superhero. And later, at Kingpin's abandoned summer house in the Hamptons, the 5 escapees hang out and plan their next objective. Otto finishes setting up a computer for Norman, who uses it to mask his location as he makes a call. To the White House? The chief of staff receives a phone call from Norman Osborn and then heads into the Oval Office to tell the president that they have a serious situation involving Nick Fury. Fury arrives at the White House and speaks to President George W. Bush, because don't forget, he's the president in the Ultimate Universe at this point, who reveals that Norman Osborn called, demanding $100 million, and claimed that Fury held him against his will, illegally seized his company, kidnapped his son, and stole all of his research. Now he wants it all back, and international amnesty for himself and the others, and Fury to be arrested. And if his demands aren't met, they'll use Kraven's connections to release all this information about S.H.I.E.L.D. and the US government to the public. Back at the Hamptons, Norman explains his plan to the others in greater detail.
I am going to destroy Nick Fury. I'm going to ruin his world. And when all that is done, I hope to be there when he draws his last breath. If you want in on this, you are more than welcome. You all of you, certainly have earned it. You can stay or you can go, but Nick Fury messed up. And for that, I believe we're getting a paycheck and a free ticket. Whatever you decide, Otto and I are leaving and not coming back. Your lives as you knew them are long over. Fury ruined them. What I'm planning, they're going to make movies about you. Teach your names in classrooms. We dictate how this ends, not Fury!
And at the Triskelion, as the sun begins to set, Peter aimlessly walks around in his Spidey suit with Quartermain. Quartermain gets distracted, and Peter is able to call up Aunt May. She tells him that she has dinner in the fridge, and she'll be back from her wine class tonight around 10:30 or so. She asks if he's okay, and Peter tells her that he just wanted to call and say hi. Then they say their goodbyes as S.H.I.E.L.D. agents alert that they're being hacked. And then the entire place blacks out. Agents begin breaking off out of the war room to secure Bruce Banner and Magneto, and Peter's Spidey sense blazes, and all of the lights explode as Electro appears. S.H.I.E.L.D. agents open fire but are caught in a sandstorm, and Peter's carried away and slammed into the ground as an explosion erupts from the ceiling, and the Green Goblin lands before him. He smiles at Peter as the boy is electrocuted and falls unconscious. That night, Aunt May is picked up by S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and Black Widow. At the Triskelion, Quartermain gives Fury the rundown. Banner was asleep when the attack happened, and Magneto wasn't, so they had to cut his oxygen supply to get him under control. Also, their computer systems are all locked or crashed, so they are currently screwed. Fury watches over the camera of Aunt May angrily screaming at S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in their little, detainment room, and orders double the agents to watch Mary Jane and her home and Gwen Stacy. Quartermain then begins listing off possible Oscorp facilities that they could have taken him to. When?
What? What, Captain? What is your goddamn problem?
I can't help but notice, Nick, that all of this trouble blossoms straight out of experiments commissioned by you that were meant to duplicate or inspired by the super soldier experiments. And and 70 years after. And all we have to show for it is this: half-mutated homicidal maniacs, thugs with powers. How many people died for this? This isn't the legacy I was hoping to leave behind when I volunteered for the program. My boy.
Osborn? Why do you keep calling me that?
Peter, you are simply said, my finest hour. You are my greatest creation. We created you, Otto and I. We created Spider-Man. In a way, really, Otto and I are your parents. You were just like everyone else. But because of us, you're now so much more. You're absolutely perfect.
And you are all kinds of crazy.
It's okay, Peter. When we were last together, I hadn't come to grips with my new life. I was in an adjustment period. The problem, as I see it, the reason you and I have so much work cut out for us, is that you have been with the wrong people. An impressionable young man out in the world, forced to grow up faster than you should. No father, no male role model. And along comes Nick Fury. He talks his talk and tells you all these things. You should not kick yourself for falling for it. But the facts are facts. All of us in this room are victims of his lies. That's why I made a special trip to get you. You're with us now. You, my boy, my pride and joy. You are going to take my hand, and you are going to open your eyes to see the world the way it really is. You're going to lash out at those who would oppress you, who lied to you. And you are going to be there with us on this history-making day.
Shut up! I have no idea what you're talking about. All of you are nutty nut bars from the nut farm. I am not your boy. I am not your creation. I was an accident. You and your voices in the head, absolute wacko lunatic spiel. Oh my god. And I think you were like this before you stuffed yourself with the goblin juice.
Your Aunt May will die tonight. And if you can't behave, I'll kill your little girlfriend, Mary Jane, and then her family, if you ever talk back to me like you just did. Do we understand each other? My first choice was to treat you with the respect of a young man that I know you are destined to be. But if you talk to me like that again, I will punish you like an insolent child! But I forgive you this once. Today, the six of us have very important things to do, and a very small window of opportunity in which to do them. Cut to the White House. Chief of Staff, Mr. Stone, gets another call from Norman right before the power and electronics all go out, and the White House is assaulted by the Sinister Six. They make their way to the Oval Office when a SHIELD helicarrier arrives above them.
Boy, do something useful.
Kid, what are you doing?
I have to! He's gonna kill my aunt!
No, he won't. We have her. She's in protective custody. She's safe.
You have her?
We picked her up after he kidnapped you.
Do you promise?
I promise, kid.
Hey! Jolly Green!
I told you.
I am sick of having you in my life! I can't even... Ugh! Oy vey. Oh, God. Wow. The Oval Office.
Outside, Wasp defeats Otto by flying directly into and down his throat. Then she crawls out and notes that she's the first person in the world to be totally covered by gingivitis. In the Oval Office, Kraven prowls towards Peter and says that he's going to eat the boy's heart. Then he's struck by lightning by Thor. Iron Man fights against Sandman and uses the S.H.I.E.L.D. genetic file on him to blow him up. In Cap, Hawkeye, and Wasp fight against the Green Goblin across the White House lawn as Goblin demands that Fury appear. Then a voice comes from behind him. The voice of Harry Osborn.
This is what the great Nick Fury has sunk to. Shoving my own child in front of my face.
I came on my own. He told me what you were doing. Please stop this, Dad. Please stop.
This is Stark. Load me Osborn's genetic sequence immediately.
You need to stop. Please just stop.
Harry?
Nick, I have a lock on Osborn.
Tony, wait!
Taking the shot.
I'll kill you all.
Are we through here yet? Alpha team, head out. Beta and cleanup teams, let's put the lid on this ASAP.
Harry, Peter, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve any of this. You did this. You all did this. All of you. I'm gonna kill all of you for this.
Kid, for any number of reasons, you have to get out of here. Later, a presidential address is given regarding the act of terrorism. The Sinister Six are all returned to S.H.I.E.L.D. Janet overlooks a still unconscious Hank Pym. Peter is reunited with Aunt May as she calls S.H.I.E.L.D. Nazis for not telling her anything, and they're taken home. And Captain America and Nick Fury overlook Norman Osborn, now rendered a horrific half-human abomination, as he is placed under cryogenic stasis. I keep hearing that the next war is going to be a genetic war. But being a veteran of war, a creation of war, it's occurred to me. It's the men of influence and power that decide what these wars will be about. They decide who we are going to fight and how we fight them. And then they go about planning the fight. In a sense, I guess the people of power will the war into existence. The end.